Welcome to another episode of Gate City Chronicles. I'm your host, Kevin Avard, and today we're going to be talking with an individual who's been around the block for a few years. She's been an alderman, a state rep, and on the school board, and she's running for school board again. And with that, I'd like to welcome Paula Johnson.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. You know, this is going to be my third time running for the Board of Ed, and I just love it on the Board of Ed.
Well, you seem to be very knowledgeable. I remember years ago watching you on, I think it was on this channel, or was Channel 96 back then. And I think we had you on the show, and I appreciated the fact that you were very frank. Some people are intimidated by that, but I find that a comfort zone, because when somebody's telling you the truth and you don't have to mix it with politics and fluff, you know where you stand, you know where the issues are, and I remember that, and I find you haven't really changed, have you?
I guess not with age. And maybe I'm like a good bottle of wine, you know, you get better as you age. I hate to say, but, well, no, don't hate to say. I'm going to be 70 in October.
No.
And
congratulations.
Thank you. And I look at myself that I do more than the young people do. Am I getting a little slow on some things? Yeah, a little bit. Long-term memory is impeccable. Short-term, well, you all get like that a little bit.
It's like a computer. There's just so much information in there.
Exactly. The brain can only process so much. And of course, you know, you try to process and you're at the meetings. And I just love being on the board. Things have calmed down since COVID.
Yep.
I feel that we have a good superintendent now who's innovative.
Who is that, by the way?
Dr. Mario Andrade. And so he's doing more CTE programs.
Oh, good.
We're doing firefighters, and we're doing police academies, you know, and this gives our students a chance to see if they like it, and keep them in New Hampshire and hopefully in Nashua, where they grew up.
It's building up the workforce, and not all the kids are ready for college. Not all of them want to go to college. We got Kevin at our house. He didn't want to go to college, but he's now going through the electrical program that they have up in Concord. So, you know, it's a 4-year program. But kind of like on the idea of the CTEs, you know, it's an alternative that
exactly
a lot of people have been clamoring for.
And a lot of people, some of the new people in Nashua don't know my history a little bit, and maybe I should talk about that. Back when we were building the North School, I had suggested we make that a technical school. So we had something for our students who did not want to go to college at all, didn't want to go at that point in time, but that they could get a career, and then if they want to go to college, they could be working and not have this debt on them. And so that got voted down. I was instrumental in the block scheduling, although I went to Chelmsford and looked at their block scheduling, which had skinnies in it. So they had the smaller classes, so you continue with the math, and I can't remember the other subject.
That's the first time I heard that term, skinnies.
Skinnies. They called it skinnies back then.
Okay.
And Pat Corbin was the principal, and Joe Giuliano was the superintendent. And he went along with what Joe Giuliano said. And I talked to many of the teachers in the district, and Mike Clemens was on the board with me back then, Jane Clemens' husband. And at the beginning, Mike and I did not get along, but as we worked together, we became good friends. And I always appreciated his knowledge. So where you're a board member and you might not have been in the system, you rely on other people for their knowledge.
Right.
And a lot of people will say to me, how do you work with Neil Claffey? And I said, I love Neil. I think he's great. I look at him and I'll say to him sometimes, Mr. Claffey, what do you think? And so at the meetings, I'll say something and he'll start laughing when I'll say, hey, I'm voting with you people. Isn't that a miracle? And we'll laugh. But that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
You know, when the vote is done with, you can't fester on it. You have to move past it and say you did the best you can. You advocated how you felt that it should be advocated, and then you move on. You know that. You just have to move on. And this redistricting, I was the one who said that we had to separate the redistricting of the middle school and the elementary school. And that's what we did. And then we had I also looked at Preston Smith's report. Here's where we had a problem, and I brought this up. Nobody ever took a look at our population of students before Preston Smith. I was the one that said, and I'm always, when I've been on the board, said, I want to look back on 5, 10 years on how population was faring in the school district. Well, we've had a decline for many years in the population of our students. We're down to over 9,000 students now, from over 11,000 if I remember correctly, pre-COVID. And so whatever reason the kids are leaving, the students are leaving, they're out of the system. But this whole project, no one did the statistics on our student population. So we built the middle school in the southwest quadrant that's sitting in the Hollis area almost, okay? We had, and I have an email here from a former board member that talked about the renovations, closing, and redistricting. And I asked questions on people. And the sad thing is here that the students that are on Broad Street, some of the Broad Street school students were being moved over to McCarthy Middle School, and the parents were upset. And I voted against that because I felt the length of time our students were on the bus didn't make sense, because we don't have, not that I'm saying that we need to put a bridge in for a direct crossing, but if we had a bridge for a direct crossing, the time frame would just go across the river and you'd be on West Hollis Street.
Right.
But they have to go on exit 6, get off at exit 5. So either the route is going to take them down West Hollis Street, past the landfill, down to Depot Road and make that left turn, or they're going to cut through Westgate, that's going to bring them down.
Yeah.
Or they're going to go down Main Dunstable to begin with. That's a long haul for 6th graders, 6th, 7th. 8th grade is not as bad, but you've got your younger kids there. Myself and Miss Oden voted against that. I was the one who separated the votes between the middle school and the elementary school, because we were talking about Mount Pleasant. What's the future of Mount Pleasant? I don't know at this point. But we have a little time on that, only because you have to get the middle school redistricting complete before you can start on an elementary, because if there's a mess here and it is not quite right, you're going to start feeding elementary school kids to different schools.
What is the status on the redistricting?
Well, we redistricted middle school, but there's issues with Broad Street, so we have to address some of that with some parents. But I've just got to find this here, because this is very interesting. Let me see, I got my papers. Oh, it didn't print very well. I'm running out of ink, but that's the way it is right now with the redistricting. I'm glad that we separated the redistricting on this between the elementary and the middle school, because it had to be. There's a lot of issues with Mount Pleasant. It's an older school. We didn't address some things. We are addressing Main Dunstable and Birch Hill. There are some security issues with the main vestibule. So
On Birch Hill?
On both of them, because we want people to be buzzed in rather than walking in.
Right.
Okay, that's minor. But we did do, what we're doing is we're getting rid of the open concept classrooms, and we're closing them up. So we won't have open concept anymore. That was done at, I think in the 80s, 90s. That was a whole big thing, that we had open concept classrooms. I have to excuse myself, but I'm trying to find out, go through this, what happened here with the middle school. I don't want to be called a liar, but it was, I don't know if I have this whole thing here.
Are you hearing from parents on any particular subjects or issues that keep surfacing?
No, we've been pretty good. We did have, I'm trying to find the renovations. It was said, and that there was a meeting, and I've said it publicly, there was a meeting with the mayor and the former superintendent and 2 members of the Board of Aldermen that went in and came up with this middle school, and 2 staff members, the current mayor. And that's how we got the middle school. it's sad because originally when I was on the board, we were talking about the high school, and we were going to put the high school in the southwest quadrant. And they said that there was too far between the two schools, the south school and that school. But we put a middle school out there instead. And it's a gorgeous school for the price. It is a gorgeous school for the price. But when Preston Smith talked about it, and we saw the decline in the numbers of students, I said, we could have retrofitted Fairgrounds Middle School in Pennachuck to house the difference of the students, and we could have gone up with our air rights versus out.
Pennachuck did expand its middle school quite a bit, actually, didn't it?
Yeah.
Over the summer.
And so did Fairgrounds Middle School. And then they're updated, which is good. But when you look at it, with the amount of students, and I didn't bring the numbers, there's it was supposed to be, Dr. Mosley wanted 800, 800, and 800 students in each school. But that's not the case now. It's like 600 and something, 600 and 700 and something. And it came out that Pennachuck had more kids, and that's why they were moving more to, if I remember correctly at that meeting, we were moving more kids to McCarthy Middle School, which was supposed to be the biggest school to house most of the students. And again, people need to look at the redistricting plan with the numbers that Preston Smith, he also said that we could close down 6 schools. And we'd still have enough room. I would not close down 6 schools. Wow. Yeah. So something was off many years ago when they did this whole redistricting plan with the middle schools, when they wanted to build the middle schools, because nobody went in and did the work to look at how the numbers are with the students. And I brought it up that night, and people were like, she's right. She's right. I don't want to be right about these things, but when you look at the chart and how you look at the history of our student population, and that's how usually when I see the budget, I always say I'd like a history of the population of the last 5 years, because 10 years will tell you the story. 20 years really opens up the door, especially when your population's declining.
So you're running for school board. Why is that important?
I like what I'm doing.
But I mean, for the public, what does it mean to them?
Well, I hope they look at me as one of the people that's not going to give them fluff on what they want to hear. I'm going to tell you the facts like I've always done before. Not a lot of people are out there speaking about this. I think they were amazed also when they saw the numbers. But it didn't surprise me, because I've always said, they also in that report said we have a higher apartment ratio to homes, and that's unusual. And parents usually don't want to raise their kids in apartments because there's not enough room. You have 800, 900, maybe 1,000, 1,100 square feet. That's not enough for a growing family. You want a backyard, you want kids to be able to ride the bike and do all of that. Except when you grow up like I did in New York, in a metropolitan city, that's a norm, more or less. But if parents can't find, if they want a house, and you can't find it here because there's no homes on the market, you're going to go where you can find a home, and you're going to go where it's affordable. Nashua, the homes, because you have no homes anyplace, you have multiple offers. And the multiple offers drive the price up.
Holy cow.
And now you've got those interest rates that are high. And so what might have been an $1,800 to $2,500 a month mortgage is now $3,000 plus mortgage.
Friends of ours rented out, I think, about a 1,200 square foot house for over $3,000 a month. Our property taxes, they went like, with the new assessments, it's like, what hit us?
What hit us, basically, and even in my neighborhood, a house rented for $3,200. You're not even owning it. You're paying somebody else's mortgage. But what happened was we had that new assessment because the state said we had to come back and update everything. And it couldn't have happened at a worse time. We were in that 10-year, I think, plan. And what happened to 7 years in the plan? Why do we wait till 10 years?
I don't know.
Those are the questions we need to ask.
Well, who is responsible for that?
Well, ask the mayor. I mean, and he.
It is a loaded question. Yes.
And the alderman. I mean, the mayor presents it to and the alderman has to fund it.
The timing of that couldn't have been worse. And now people are really, along with inflation, along with a host of other issues. And the reason I asked about why it was important for the school board, because that is a part of the budget, isn't it?
It's part of the budget. We have and we're autonomous from the rest of the city. So when we present our budget, and I was chair of the budget committee last year, and I thought the budget was too much, and I asked a member of my committee, I said, I'm sorry, I can't support this, so would somebody like to make the motion? And they made the motion, and I gave my reasons why. I felt it was too high. I felt that our senior population, plus many young families, couldn't afford this. Our student population is decreasing, so how do we justify this? Once we get rid of the ESSA funds after this year, we're going to have to look at the budget next year, and I hope that I'm reelected because I understand the budget. And so that's an important piece. So the Board of Aldermen and the mayor, I don't care what the mayor says, only have bottom line control on the budget. They can come in and say, well, we want to cut $2 million out of the budget. Board of Ed has to figure out where to find it. That's all the mayor has. We're autonomous from the rest of the city. Mm-hmm. So when he talks about that he did the funding, yes, the Board of Aldermen voted on it. He could have written the legislation, and then he had somebody co-sponsor it, or and then he signs off. But he has no control really of it. So he found the money for the teachers' contract, but I get it, the teachers, more money. That's what happened when he was running for the Senate back when, 56% pay increase. But the bottom line is here, did he do it for the other unions? Let's be fair about this. You want to talk about fair and equitable. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to find $10 million, I believe it was back then, and I apologize if I'm off on the money. I was very sick with pneumonia at that time, and I was watching and participating by phone. But if you're going to find it for that union, did you find it for all the other unions? That's fair. That's equitable.
So one of the things that I've heard on the national level is that what's happening to a lot of the school districts across the nation. One of the things that's dwarfing not dwarfing, but which is outpacing teachers are administrators. We've got administrators for this, we've got administrators for that, and that is just hiking up the cost. And in the meantime, it's affecting teachers' salaries. Is there any truth to that? Do you see any of that?
I don't really see that in our budget, because I'd be the first one to say we got too many. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the budgets, what it is that about 85%, I would say, goes to salaries and benefits. So when you have 85%, you only have 15% left. But if you look at not only the school budget, if you look at the city budget, you have to look at your employees, and the question becomes, even at the citywide, do we need all these employees? What are their job functions? Are we getting to the point that when people retire through attrition, do we need to replace that position? Mm-hmm. So it's with any budget. Not just with the school, but if you look at the city budget also, it's your employees that drive the costs up, because you got a salary, you got your steps increase, and you got your benefits.
Yeah, and we definitely want to support the teachers. I know,
yes,
going along the lines of what you were talking about with the state budget, they're Group 1 and Group 2, and for years, Group 1 was just neglected for years. And so we don't lose them all to Massachusetts. We gave them a 10% increase. Now, Group 2 didn't benefit as much, but previous year, we gave like $49 million on this and that. So we're trying to keep pace with Massachusetts, and so we don't lose some of our institutional knowledge.
Exactly.
But it was a boost. It was a shot in the arm, DOT or whatever. These guys and girls, they're working hard, and 10% increase this year and 2% next year. That's a shot in the arm, especially when the cost of everything is just going nuts.
And it is, and it's hard for the taxpayers to keep up with this. Now, I sit and I laugh with the the president, the vice president of the teachers union, I enjoy talking to them, and the vice president and I would say we're not that far off on our thinking as to how do we get together to reach that common goal. And if you think about it, I'm a registered Republican. I'm really more an independent. I just never changed myself back to being an independent. When I was in the State House, I was a Democrat because Democrats asked me to run, and it was it was a chance of a lifetime to be up there.
Yeah.
I got so much knowledge, but you know what? We have to stop thinking about party lines and thinking about ourselves as people, and how do we work together for the common goal? And so the question is, how do we reach that goal? And that's where I like it. If this election, the local election, really stayed nonpartisan the way it's supposed to be, because let's look at the candidates as people versus as parties, even though we know where the party lines draw. But that's the way we should run, and work together as a team. And so that's what I've tried to do even through COVID, when there was a mishap with me on the board, not to my liking.
I know even in the Senate, though, there is more of a camaraderie. We know where the line is, Democrats, Republicans, but one of the things that we do look at is the fact that you're a human being first.
Right. If
you lose sight of that, you really lose your effectiveness as an individual. And I see it more in the House. There's more hey, our team, your team. It doesn't matter what the facts are. We're going to vote this way and lockstep, and that doesn't help the citizens. There really needs to be a dynamic where iron sharpens iron, the good flushes to the surface, and I think that's one of the things that I've learned over the years. I've been up there a little while now, and I struggle when I see people are voting just because it's their party.
Right.
And I can tell you, even in our chambers, we have disagreements, and we vote our conscience in our caucus, and that's important because that's healthy. You need to have an exchange of ideas, and you're not always going to agree, and that's healthy. You have to have that in order to serve the people. And if your constituents, and we hear it all the time, well, hey, I'm sorry, but the Nashua wants this, or Hollis wants that. My constituents want this, so see you later.
Well, and that's the important thing is, like you said, you have to vote your conscience. Yep. Like when I went in for the vote on Mount Pleasant, I was voting to close it down. But then I was talking to two of my board members, and they made sense to me. And I said, you know what, to keep it open, to look at it in about another year and a half. It can't hurt, because some of these students are the ones that were out during COVID that lost 2 years of school, and should we disrupt them anymore? No, we shouldn't. And you vote your conscience. And when you're, like I said, when you're done with the vote, you could sit around and laugh with people, because that's what you are. Yeah. You're human beings.
Right.
And like I said, I make jokes at my meetings. I like working with the people I am, even though we're at opposite ends of the fence at times. But at the end, when one of my board members said to me, I hope you get reelected. I really like working with you. You're so knowledgeable. That's
nice to hear.
Yeah. She's a Democrat. And and I said to her, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That really made me feel good. And you don't get that much anymore like that. And so I like working with the members of my board. I think that we're a good board. I think we work great together. And I'm hoping that the good people of Nashua will be kind enough to give me another 4 years on the Board of Ed, and give two of my other colleagues that are running for re-election a chance again, Jem Bishop and Sharon Giglio. The three of us work very well on the board, and hopefully we can return to the board for another 4 years. And I'm giving them a plug,
At no cost. So just to remind the public, when is the election?
I believe it's November 8th. What is the first or second Tuesday of November? I think it's November 8th. I don't have my phone, so I can't look it up that quickly. It's a city election. Yep. It's not a big state election. It's an off year. And
we want turnout. You want to be. It's important. The
It's
school
important.
board is extremely important. And
that is, and the same thing with the Board of Aldermen and the mayor. And I'm just going to say right now, I'm not going to give a plug for either person running for mayor. Do your homework. Do your homework and see who's going to be the best person to fit your needs. Do you want another 4 years of spending, or do you want to give somebody else a chance and see if they can roll in the spending? With the Board of Education, are you happy with 3 incumbents to run again to keep the same stability on the board with the other 4 members? Are you looking for change? But I'm hoping that you're not looking for change, that you'll re-elect Paula Johnson for Board of Education this November, and I'll be here to serve the people, and I listen to the people.
how can they contact you, Paula?
Or they can always contact me by my phone number, 603-966-6794. Text me. I always get, or call me, I always get back to people, but I will tell you, my notifications on my voice message with my carrier is very slow. But once I see it, I do get back to everybody. Email is a little tough. I haven't been able to get back on the website at this point in time since we were hacked.
Yep.
I don't have the 2 authorizations, so I tell people, call me anytime.
I tell people text me first. If I don't recognize the number, I'm not picking it up.
Oh, I
get
do.
so much spam. I get a ton of spam, and it's after a while. It's like I don't have time for this. Text me. If you want to get in touch with me, text me. I'll get right back to you.
I call back, even if the call comes in and I don't know who it is. I'll call back. But I make it a point to try to get back. When it comes to emails, if you email the full board, it becomes a meeting. So I tell people one by one, but the problem is I can't get into the website if you email me, my email site. So I'm doing it by phone. So I apologize for any errors on my phone.
No.
So,
Paula, I really appreciate you coming
Thank
on.
you
And
so
I
much.
appreciate you for serving. And
thank you. Same to you.
Thank you. And frankly, if you're concerned about your local property taxes or the school board or the things that are going on, get involved, find out the issues, whether it's mayor, alderman, or school board. Please get out there and vote. It's really important, and it does matter. Until next week, thanks for watching Gate City Chronicles.